Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel today. We're taking a deep dive into the animated brilliance that is Rick and Morty. Now, if you haven't heard of it, which, come on, where have you been? It's a classic cartoon that's not just a show. It's a mind-bending odyssey through countless universes and dimensions. Picture this, an eccentric burping scientist named Rick,
super chill.
and his wide-eyed, perpetually nervous grandson, Morty, embarking on adventures that make roller coasters look like a walk in the park. With a whopping 6 seasons and 61 episodes under its belt, Rick and Morty has become a pop culture phenomenon. And in this video, we're not just scratching the surface. Oh no, we're delving into the nitty-gritty details of Rick's life and Morty's integral role in this cosmic escapade. Have you ever wondered how Rick cooked up that portal gun of his? Curious about the mysterious evil Morty? And what in the multiverse is the central finite curve? Well, you're in the right place because we're about to unravel the entire tapestry of Rick and Morty. So, kick back, relax, and get ready to have your mind blown as we explore the entire story of Rick and Morty from start to finish. So, let's break it down for those who might be new to the interdimensional party. Meet Rick, the brainiac scientist who's not your average grandpa. He's got this futuristic tech that makes your latest smartphone seem like ancient history. Now, Rick is the kind of guy who's always diving headfirst into the craziest adventures, and his partner in crime? Well, that's his grandson, Morty, who happens to have some psychic vibes going on. Now, Rick, despite being a genius, is a bit of a loose cannon. But here's the kicker. He's considered the smartest being in the known multiverse. Impressive, right? On the flip side, we've got Morty, the more cautious sidekick who often finds himself dragged along for this wild ride across dimensions. Now, let's talk family dynamics. Rick was once married to a woman named Diane, and together they had a kid named Beth. Beth, in turn, tied the knot with a guy named Jerry and had 2 kids, Summer and, you guessed it, Morty. Now, it's pretty clear from the get-go that Rick and family dinners don't exactly mesh well. Why? Well, Rick has this habit of not holding back, especially when it comes to Jerry. He's always throwing shade and calling him out for being, in Rick's words, mediocre. But it's not just verbal jabs. Rick has a knack for putting the family in some seriously dangerous situations, and that doesn't exactly help in the bonding department. Oh, and here's a little nugget. Rick wasn't exactly the poster grandpa during Beth's upbringing. In one episode, Close Rick Counters of the Rick Kind, the family celebrates the 1-year anniversary of Rick's return, highlighting a significant chunk of time where he was MIA from Beth's life. So, family dynamics? Let's just say they're as complicated as hopping between dimensions. Alright, buckle up, because things take a twist. Initially, Rick's past was like an unsolved mystery, a bit hazy. It wasn't until the episode The Rickshank Redemption that the curtain lifted. In a shocking turn of events, he gets nabbed by an opposing organization, called out for the crimes he committed during his time away from the family. Hold on, we'll spill the deets on that in a bit. Now let's talk dimensions. Our main man, Rick, hails from a place called C-137. In this dimension, he was working on a prototype of his legendary portal gun. You know, the one that lets him hop around the universe. But here's where it gets juicy. Another Rick, whom Rick calls Rick Prime, pops into the scene from a different dimension. Rick Prime is all about this society called the Rick Alliance. It's like a club where Ricks from everywhere gather and play their roles in a hierarchy. Now here's the kicker. All these Ricks already have a working module of the portal gun, and Rick Prime extends the same offer to our Rick, C-137. But our Rick's a bit different. He's not interested in joining the club. Nope, not his scene. Instead, he decides to ditch the scientific wizardry altogether and spend more time with his family. Sounds sweet, right? Well, hold on. This decision takes a dark turn, leading to the heartbreaking loss of his wife Diane and daughter Beth in the C-137 dimension. And what does Rick do next? Well, faced with this tragedy, he takes matters into his own hands and decides to build that portal gun himself. Talk about a plot twist. Initially, it seemed like Rick C-137 was on a mission, immediately inventing that portal gun and chasing after Rick Prime. But here's the twist. It wasn't a snap decision. In the episode Rick Murray Jack, we find out it took him months to cope with the loss of his family and get that portal gun up and running. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Initially, Rick C-137 was the picture of sanity and happiness among all the Ricks, but that's about to change for better or worse. Depends on who you ask. In the same episode, we discover that after the tragedy with his family, Rick C-137 went on this months-long quest, hopping across dimensions in search of Rick Prime. But here's the kicker. After offing another Rick in the process, he stumbles upon the Alliance symbol. That discovery triggers something in him, and he decides to go all out, hunting down every Rick associated with the Citadel. And guess what? All this killing spree changes him, turns him into this. Well, let's call it like it is. A narcissistic prick. It's like a dark cloud hanging over his character. As a consequence of his actions, the Alliance sends a bunch of Ricks to take him down. But surprise, surprise, they fail. Instead of being stopped, Rick C-137 rises above it all, becoming a godlike figure among his other selves. And wait for it, he's declared the leader of the Alliance. As the big boss, he shapes the Citadel, but eventually ditches it, crash landing in the dimension he's in now. And guess who he finds there? Beth. But here's the twist. She's not actually his real daughter. Alright, the drama continues with Rick C-137's ultimate mission, capturing and taking down Rick Prime to avenge the tragic loss of his wife and daughter. But, my friends, we'll dive deeper into that in just a bit. Now, let's shift our focus to Beth, Rick's daughter. At first glance, she appears to be the model of a caring mother and wife. But, surprise, surprise, there's more to her story. In the episode The ABCs of Beth, Rick spills the beans on some of her, well, let's call them peculiar interests. Turns out Beth used to ask her dad, our genius scientist Rick, to whip up borderline, if not downright psychotic toys and devices for her to use on the neighbor's kids. Talk about a unique childhood request, right? To keep things safe, Rick crafted a whole dimension called Froopyland, where Beth could unleash her wildest fantasies without causing harm. But, here comes the twist. Beth once brought her friend Tommy into Froopyland and, get this, pushed him into a river of honey with plans to, well, end him. Fast forward, and Tommy's still stuck in Froopyland, and his dad is facing a death sentence for the alleged murder. Beth, upon discovering this, ventures back into Froopyland and realizes Tommy miraculously survived her little stunt. But here's the kicker. Froopyland was designed to be a safe space, a land where nobody gets hurt. Yet, Beth managed to find a way. The conflict spirals into a gruesome scene, with Beth unleashing violence on everyone, including poor Tommy. Talk about family dynamics getting seriously twisted. Back in Rick's garage, they decide to make a clone of Tommy to save his father from the execution. But hold on, there's more. Beth, realizing her true nature, feels kind of stuck as a housewife. In a surprising moment of understanding, Rick offers to make a clone of her. The deal? She can go off into space, have all sorts of adventures, while her clone takes over the family duties. Initially hesitant, she eventually takes up the offer. And in the episode Star-Mort: Return of the Jedi, we find out she indeed went through with it. Talk about a plot twist on top of a plot twist. And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, hold on tight. Rick spills the beans on a seriously messed up move he pulled. He purposely mixed up the real Beth with the clone Beth. Why, you ask? Well, most likely because he didn't want to, accidentally wipe out the Beth on good old Earth. Now, enter Space Beth. After joining some intergalactic force, she's off on a whirlwind of missions, exploring the cosmos. Surprise, surprise, she eventually makes her way back to Earth, and, oh boy, talk about a twist. She even goes on missions with the rest of the family. But here's where it gets real peculiar. In an unexpected turn of events, the two Beths, the one from space and the one from Earth, grow closer. Yep, you heard it right. They share a unique bond forged by the trauma inflicted by none other than our genius scientist, Rick. And in a plot twist that's both awkward and, let's face it, a little uncomfortable, the two Beths develop romantic feelings for each other. Yep, you heard that right, falling in love with herself. Morty and Summer? Well, they're left in a state of traumatizing discomfort. And oh, Jerry, he's just soaking up the attention from both his wife and her clone. Talk about a seriously dysfunctional family dynamic. But despite all the odd circumstances, Space Beth becomes more actively involved in the family's adventures. Alright, let's take a moment to delve into the intriguing world of the Citadel of Ricks. Remember how I mentioned it's this society with Ricks from all sorts of dimensions? Well, it's more than just a gathering, it's a hierarchy where Ricks are assigned their Mortys based on their ranks. Now, you might be wondering, why the pairing? Turns out, Ricks have a bit of a history with the Galactic Federation, an organization dead set on eliminating any threat in the universe, including the Citadel of Ricks. To keep their locations under wraps, each Rick is paired with a Morty. Why? Well, it turns out Morty's not-so-genius brainwaves cancel out Rick's genius waves, making him much harder to track. Sneaky, right? In Close Rick Counters of the Rick kind, our Rick C-137 finds himself in a tight spot, accused of killing 27 Ricks. Despite his infamous reputation, he denies any involvement. Plot twist alert. The Citadel is revealed to be using some pretty harsh methods to extract Morty waves from countless Ricks, all to protect their location from the Federation and other rogue Ricks. As the story unfolds, C-137 manages to escape and exposes the true killer to the Citadel. But hold on, another twist awaits. The killer Rick was being controlled by someone else, and the eye patch-wearing Morty of this killer Rick reveals himself as the mastermind behind the murders. Intrigued? Well, this Morty's world is bound to play a big role in future episodes, so keep those eyes peeled. Now let's talk about Bird Person. He belonged to a resistance group whose planets were taken over by the Federation, making him a prime target. In The Return of the Spotless Mind, C-137 encounters Bird Person on his quest to find Rick Prime. The two become fast friends, bonding over a common enemy. They even fought side by side in the Battle of Blood Ridge, a whole war against the Federation. But when Rick offered Bird Person a spot on his adventures, he turned it down, leaving Rick understandably upset. Looks like friendship has its complications, even on the battlefield. Now let's fast forward a bit to the episode Ricksy Business. Rick and Summer decide to throw a party, and that's where Bird Person crosses paths with Summer's high school friend Tammy for the first time. Guess what? Sparks fly, and they end up hooking up. In a later episode, Get Swifty, Tammy casually shows up at Bird Person's home, dressed in a robe, hinting that their relationship has been going strong. As their love blossoms, they decide to take the plunge and get married. The big day arrives in the Wedding Squanchers, and Bird Person invites all his pals who joined him on his adventures, including Rick and his family. But hold on tight for the twist of all twists. Tammy, the seemingly sweet partner, turns out to be a deep cover agent for the Galactic Federation. Yep, you heard it right. Her entire plan was to gather everyone who supported Bird Person in the war and take them out. Sadly, Bird Person gets shot multiple times by none other than Tammy herself. In a narrow escape, Rick manages to get his family out of there, but Earth is left under the Federation's control. Rick, being the resourceful guy he is, finds a similar Earth-like planet, but there's a catch. It's tiny compared to the original Earth. Now here's where things take an unexpected turn. Jerry suggests ratting out Rick to the Federation for their freedom. It's a moment of realization for Rick. He understands that he'll always bring danger to his family. So, in a surprising move, Rick decides to give himself up to the Federation to save his family. Talk about a gut-wrenching twist in the tale. After the heartbreaking death of Bird Person, Tammy takes his body and, surprise, revives him as Phoenix Person, a cyborg under her control. Fast forward to Star Wars Return of the Jedi, when Space Beth lands on Earth. Tammy and Phoenix Person see her as a threat, and a fierce battle ensues. Tammy meets her end in the fight, and Space Beth manages to shut down Phoenix Person. In The Return of the Spotless Mort, we find Rick bringing Bird Person's remains to his garage. Determined to break him free from Tammy's mind control, Rick succeeds in reviving his best friend. And here's the kicker. Bird Person reveals he has a child somewhere in the world, prompting Rick to embark on a quest to find her. Now let's rewind to the episode Rick Shank Redemption. Rick, having given himself up to the Federation, is held captive as they try to extract the secret formula for portal guns from his memories. While everyone except Jerry feels guilty and worries about Rick's safety, Summer and Morty are on a mission to rescue him. To make matters weirder, the Federation has taken over the world through democracy, assigning personal servant robots to everyone. But here's where it gets wild. Remember, Rick didn't originally belong to the dimension he was captured in. After ditching the Citadel, he crash-landed in a similar dimension. But hold on, that's not the dimension we're in now. Confused. Let's go back to the episode Rick Potion number 9. Morty has a crush on Jessica, and Rick concocts a potion to make her fall for Morty. However, things take a dark turn, leading to a zombie apocalypse. In a last-ditch effort, Rick and Morty jump into a dimension with the same past, but where the local Rick and Morty just died. Our Rick and Morty bury them in the backyard and seamlessly take their places in the family. So, the big reveal, neither Rick nor Morty belongs to the current dimension. In the episode Ricksty Minutes, Morty spills the beans to Beth about their not-so-original grandfather and even points to the graves in the backyard, shedding light on the whole dimension-jumping fiasco. Now let's swing back to Morty and Summer's daring rescue plan. Summer decides to dig up the original Rick's grave in their timeline to snag the portal gun. But plot twist, a service robot mistakes them for a threat, setting off a wild chain of events. Morty, in a crazy turn of events, uses the portal gun and lands in his original dimension, which is, surprise, infected by one of Rick's potions. In this alternate dimension, Beth, Jerry, and Summer have adjusted to their new lives. Jerry, in a misguided attempt to keep Morty from leaving, destroys the portal gun. However, this catches the attention of the Citadel, who freezes everyone except our Summer and Morty. Meanwhile, the Citadel learns of Rick C-137's capture and sends forces to eliminate him before he spills any Federatian secrets. As Rick C-137 escapes the clutches of the Federation, Morty and Summer find themselves on trial for supporting a fugitive. Rick pulls off a classic switcheroo, swapping bodies with another Rick and using a fancy control panel to teleport the entire Citadel into the Federation prison. An epic showdown unfolds as Ricks clash with the Federation. Our Rick, C-137, shows up in the nick of time, wiping out the entire council of Ricks and rescuing Summer and Morty. But that's not the end of it. He goes the extra mile, messing with the Federation's finances and driving them straight into bankruptcy. This masterstroke allows Rick to dismantle his most formidable adversaries, forcing the Federation to abandon its government on Earth. Rick returns with Morty and Summer and a twist awaits Jerry. He gives Beth an ultimatum, choose between him and Rick. Of course, Beth chooses her father, leading to Jerry getting the boot. Little did Jerry know, this whole divorce saga was pre-planned by Rick, seeking revenge for Jerry's attempt to rat him out to the Federation. But the story doesn't end there. Remember Space Beth? Well, she left her clone behind, and that clone decides to reconcile with Jerry. It's a bit confusing, considering Beth got herself a clone after the divorce. Thanks to Rick's mix-up sending one Beth to space, we're left wondering which Beth is the real one. And now, let's shift gears to the eye-patched Morty, the mastermind behind the killings of 27 Ricks. In the Ricklantis mix-up, we discover that the Citadel is getting a revamp. Ricks and Mortys are out and about in various dimensions, collecting funds. Life seems oddly normal, but on the Morty side of things, most are stuck in school, learning how to be good Mortys. For the Ricks, they'll eventually be assigned to. Now let's dive into the political scene at the Citadel. Typically, Ricks are the ones vying for power, but this time Morty decides to throw his hat into the ring for president. Despite the odds stacked against him, including discouragement from his own assistant, Morty delivers a heartfelt speech during the debate. He speaks about the necessity for change and compassion, unexpectedly moving everyone. You can't help but root for the underdog. In this Citadel hierarchy, some Ricks enjoy a life of luxury, while others are stuck in mundane jobs. Morty, our genius Morty, seizes this opportunity to win the election. He fires his assistant post-debate for not believing in him, only to have the assistant approached by a corrupt Rick with an offer to assassinate the president. The attempt fails, leading to a meeting with elite-class Mortys who boast about running the Citadel for years, regardless of the president. Enter Evil Morty, a name that might mislead you. He's not actually evil. He's on a mission to transform the Citadel. Evil Morty wants to break the chains of Morty slavery and promote equality. His bold move involves eliminating anyone supporting the old hierarchy, aiming for a Citadel that's freer and fairer. In a surprising twist, Evil Morty turns out to be the same eye-patched Morty responsible for the 27 Rick killings. He stabilizes life on the Citadel, but has a deeper motive. Inviting Rick C-137 and Morty to dinner, he injects Morty with memories revealing disturbing facts about the Citadel's infrastructure. Here's the revelation. The Citadel ensures Jerry and Beth end up together, having Morty, as it's crucial for hiding their base. To deal with the inconvenience of waiting for Mortys to be born, they extract DNA and make infinite Morty copies. It's sickening, and our Morty, upset after learning about Rick's crimes, gives him a serum of memories. During their escape, they discover that Evil Morty has hacked every portal gun on the Citadel, leaving Rick and Morty stranded in space. Evil Morty, now equipped with the knowledge of the central finite curve, plans to escape the multiverse's end. The central finite curve acts as a filter, sealing off universes where Rick isn't the smartest man, ensuring Citadel rule without interference. Evil Morty opens a yellow portal, creating endless possibilities for future seasons, while Rick and a few survivors escape in a pod. The fate of our Rick and Morty hangs in the vastness of space. The journey continues, leaving us eagerly awaiting what lies ahead in the multiverse's infinite expanse. After the Avengers Endgame-style rescue by Space Beth, Rick and Morty find themselves back in their timeline. However, a little teleportation mishap sends every Rick and Morty to their original worlds. In the chaos, we learn that Rick C-137 had created a Robo-Diane to torment himself. The Robo-Diane asks if he found her killer, and Rick, claiming the killer is unfindable, heads out. Yet, the Robo-Diane hints that the killer Rick is also stuck in his original world. Meanwhile, Morty discovers Beth and Summer died in a zombie-infested world. His father has moved on, and Morty is rescued by Rick. Here's the twist. Rick Prime is revealed as the original grandfather of the Morty we've been following. Rick C-137 rescued Morty thinking Rick Prime might return to this dimension. However, it turns out to be a trap set by Rick Prime. The gang rescues Beth and Summer, and they move to an alternate dimension. In the final season, many wild things happen. Morty gets stuck in a video game, Space Beth and clone. Beth have a connection, consciousness takeover by night selves, overpowered Rick from fortune cookies, dinosaurs on Earth, Morty is the king of the sun, and more. The hunt for Rick Prime takes a backseat as Rick becomes surprisingly more involved with his family, saving them from crazy dangers. But here's the twist. The bonding Rick, who seems so caring, turns out to be a robot. Rick C-137 built it to keep the family happy while he tirelessly works to locate Rick Prime. The robot, Rick, gets destroyed, and Morty realizes that his grandpa built it to make them happy. Rick, acknowledging his mistake, invites Morty to join the search for Rick Prime. They're pumped, claiming they're closer than ever to hunting down their nemesis. And that's how Season 6 of Rick and Morty ends, leaving us with an epic cliffhanger, eagerly anticipating future seasons. And there you have it, the roller coaster ride that is the complete timeline of Rick and Morty. If you enjoyed this journey through dimensions, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more mind-bending content. Don't forget to ring that bell to stay in the loop with our latest updates. As we eagerly await the next chapter in the Rick and Morty saga, your support keeps us fueled to bring you more awesome recaps and insights. Thanks for joining us on this adventure, and we'll catch you in the next video. Until then, stay swifty and take care. Peace.